What's going on? This is TJ Murphy, and welcome to another episode of Adventurous Entrepreneurs. My guest today is Bianca Lysette. Bianca is a manifestation and mindset coach and brain chemistry guru, dedicated to empowering individuals through customized manifestation strategies. With a deep understanding of brain chemistry and the subtle dynamics of energy manipulation, Bianca expertly guides her clients in transforming their lives. She specializes in tailoring techniques that align with each person's unique needs, enabling them to harness their energy and achieve their fullest potential. Through her innovative approach, Bianca demystifies the science behind mindset and manifestation, making complex concepts accessible and actionable. Her passion for helping others is evident in her commitment to fostering personal growth and self-awareness. Whether you're seeking to overcome obstacles, attract abundance, or simply enhance your mental well-being, Bianca's expertise offers a transformative pathway to success. Just a few of the golden takeaways Bianca shares in this episode are the importance of aligning with your authentic self through tools like numerology and human design to enhance your manifestation practice. How controlling your thoughts and cultivating a positive perception of reality are key to successful manifestation. The 80-20 rule of manifestation, where 80% of the work is mindset and 20% is strategy, highlighting the power of a focused mind. The value of trusting in divine timing and staying committed to your vision, even when results aren't immediate. And practical advice on balancing life and business by prioritizing self-care and setting clear boundaries. So, without further ado, this is me and Bianca Lysette. Welcome to the Adventurous Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, TJ Murphy. Since quitting my corporate 9-to-5 and starting a business while backpacking through Asia back in early 2017, I've had the privilege of learning from some incredibly adventurous entrepreneurs. Through these conversations and my own journey, I've learned that much like in life, entrepreneurship is an adventure. On this podcast, I explore the journeys of top-performing leaders in their fields. These wide-ranging conversations include tactical business advice, how I built this insights, lessons in leadership, life hacks, travel stories, favorite hobbies, and insights into living a purposeful and joy-filled life. Adventures await us, so let's dive in. Hey, Bianca, welcome to Adventurous Entrepreneurs.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, really excited for the conversation. And I'd love to just start with a bit of background on your journey. So Bianca, could you tell us a bit about your story to becoming a mindset and manifestation coach? Like, what inspired you to dive into this field?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was at a point in my life where I had just really failed in my first business, and I felt like I was, hitting rock bottom and starting all over again. I moved in with my aunt. I was staying in her guest room, just trying to figure out how I was going to get my revenue back. For a little bit of background, I started off doing a virtual executive assistant business, and it was going really well until, one day I just had everybody quit on me. I had a bunch of clients just say it's not working out. So when I got to this point, I was like, just trying to scramble and get everything I could back up. And my cousin had came over and she was like, you seem really stressed. Maybe you should watch this documentary called The Secret. And it just tells you all this really cool stuff that changes your life. And I'm like, that sounds like, it just sounds impossible.
Too good to be true.
Exactly. It's like, this is a scam, but I'm bored. I have nothing else to do. I'm stressed out. So I'll just go ahead and put it on. And as soon as I watched it, I was immediately hooked. I was like, it sounds like magic. Like, I'm like, if I can figure this out, I can be the next Bill Gates. Like I was on a whole different level, So after that, I just dove in and I studied every single leader I could. I went to every single seminar. I just really embodied the whole method of the law of attraction and creating my own reality.
I love it. Who are some of the leaders that really inspire you or that helped kind of crack the code as you were just getting into it?
Yeah, so I think my top two at that time was Joe Dispenza and Bob Proctor. And I would say those two because they really speak to the skeptic side of me. At that time when I was just getting started, it's like people are like, oh, you just think positive thoughts and these things happen. I'm like, no, there's no way. I need the science behind it. I need, how does the brain work? How does this really come about? And they really delivered that.
Yeah. Well, I love how you talk about transforming into an incredible person by learning who you are, both personally and astrologically. Like, how has understanding your authentic, self influenced approach, and like, how does that boil into how you coach others in building that manifestation and mindset to help them achieve their dreams, their wildest dreams?
Yeah, from my perspective, once I got to this point where I was like, I need to know myself a little bit more, not just who I am on the outside, but who I am on the inside at a soul level. Like, why did I come here? What was my main purpose? That is when everything shifted for me. That is when I started seeing multiple figures, seeing a lot of success in relationships, in business, in my health. So when I teach it to my clients, I tell them like it really just solidifies if you're on the right path or not. For so many years, even when I just joined the workforce and I knew like I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to be a business owner, I was doing the wrong things. I was going in the wrong industry. I was working with the wrong people who just didn't connect with me on, a soul level or a personal level. But once I used numerology and human design to really dig deep and find out who I am and what works best for me, that is when the shift really happened. And I'm noticing that a lot with my clients as well.
Amazing. Yeah, it's actually like coincidental. This morning I was talking with a buddy of mine. He just got back from a conference where Jesse Itzler spoke. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's somebody that really is all in on manifestation and like just positive affirmation. What you think about, what you say to yourself over and over again is what you will ultimately, have come true. So for him, one of the big stories he always uses as like a core pillar in most of his talks is how he wanted to do this 100-mile race. And he was training and he was training months and months, and he could never run more than 38 miles, which, I mean, that alone is pretty incredible. But he couldn't get past that point. So he started thinking, all right, I got to get a coach. I got to have someone train me on this. And his thought was like they were going to train him on the athletic side of, okay, you just need to become better, stronger, have more endurance. But ultimately, it boiled down to the mindset. He was just telling himself that he couldn't get past that 38-mile mark. So working with this coach who was, famous former Marine, extreme endurance athlete, he would just start training him in these runs and say, I know you'll face challenges. I know there will be moments when you think of quitting. You're going to throw in the towel, but we're never going to speak of it. We're never going to put those words into existence. So when I ask you how you feel during the run, you're always going to say, I feel outstanding. And just over and over again, I feel outstanding. I won't quit. I will never quit. And through that process, training exactly the same, but using those positive affirmations and speaking that into existence, he was able to hit that 100-mile run. And now he does those things all the time. So the power is there, whether it's in sports, whether it's in business, whether it's just manifesting a life of happiness. It's truly there. So for those who are new to the concept, like how do you define manifestation and like what misconceptions do people often have about it?
Yeah, so to kind of answer both of those questions, I will sometimes get consultation calls with clients who are like, I don't believe in this stuff at all, but I just
Super
want to,
skeptic right out of the gate.
and they're like, I just want to talk to you about it and just see what you have to say. And the quickest way that I'm able to convert them and show them like this is genuinely science-backed, proved stuff is just kind of giving them an example of the last time that they were in the car and they're like, oh, I miss this song so much, right? I love this song. I wish this would come on the radio. And then it either happens like, that day or the next day you get in the car and you're like, oh, I was just thinking about the song, and you jam out, you're in that good vibe, you're feeling so good. And then that song comes on again later in the grocery store and it just continues, it's what you're putting out there. It's your thoughts genuinely controlling your perception of reality. Reality is just a reflection of who you are, your thoughts, and your personality. And I'm able to prove this in so many different ways just by asking clients questions about themselves and things about their day to day. What do they notice? What do they not notice? But it just comes down to pulling those things out of their brain and then showing them where they show up for them. Whether it's thinking about somebody and, the text happens, or you just have that really good feeling today's going to be a great day. And then by the end of the day, you're like, man, today was awesome. It's those little, celebrating the little wins that's able to really prove that you manifested this. You absolutely created this.
Yeah, I love, especially the celebrating little wins. As I got into running my business, it was always focusing on the failures early on. And over time, I learned, man, just celebrate every win. Doesn't matter how big or significant it is. By celebrating it and just putting attention into something that you accomplished, that just exponentially increases the success that you have, because that's what you're paying attention to. You're not focusing on the failures. You're not focusing on the bad feelings, although you should learn from them,
Yeah.
keep them in perspective, but really focus on where you're feeling good, where you're in that element of winning. And mindset is a big part of that, right? Big part of manifestation, which is something that you emphasize. Could you break down the 80-20 rule that you advocate for when it comes to manifesting success?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like this is such a huge misconception, especially with entrepreneurs, is, we naturally think all we need is a good strategy, right? And that's what they tell you with marketing. All you need is a good strategy, sales. You just need that good pitch. And although that is true, that is really only 20% of the work. The other 80% is your thoughts in approaching this, right? If you go into a client call and you're thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm going to sell them, they're, a really high client, I'm not sure about this, your energy is going to be felt, whether it's through a Zoom or whether you're in the same room with that person. The body language, the way that you're speaking, your tone, all of that comes into play. And it's basically how you're feeling and your thoughts. So if you just shift that a little bit and you walk into this like, oh, hey, I got this. This client's going to want to work with me. They love me. They reached out to me for a reason. You sold them before you even spoke to them. So it's just so important to always have that law of assumption, if you will, which is something that I teach with my clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is so powerful. Like anytime I get on a sales call now, whether it's, I know it's in the bag or it is a huge pitch and, it could go either way. I have this routine. I'll go get out of my office. Usually I'll go outside. I'll do jumping jacks. I'll start pumping myself up, banging on my chest and telling myself, I got this. I'm going to close this deal. Everything they need, I can provide. We're going to guide them to success. And just doing that for 60 seconds, jumping on Zoom or walking into the meeting, that energy radiates outward and they feel your confidence. You've gotten yourself in that zone of brilliance where you can articulate and really just share that vision with them in the most successful and effective way.
Yeah, exactly.
So for entrepreneurs, business owners, or really just anybody, I would say, what are some practical manifestation techniques that they can apply if they're just getting started, or maybe they've done a little bit with manifestation but haven't built a consistent practice with it? What are some things they can apply to achieve their goals faster?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting question because the problem that I see in my industry is that a lot of these manifestation gurus are teaching these basic, everybody try them type of manifestation methods, right? Meditation is not going to work for everybody, especially if you are not a visual person or if you are not a person who enjoys sitting for more than 10 minutes with your eyes closed. For me, it's my favorite activity. But yeah, a lot of my clients are like, there's no way I'm doing that. And I totally understand. So first, I think it's super important to take into consideration your schedule and your day-to-day. How much time do you have to focus on bringing out this good vibration, this good feeling? Once you figure that out, start with the basics, right? Just make a list of the top 3 manifestation methods that you know of. This can be meditation, this can be visualization, this can be scripting, this can be doing the phone method. There's so many different methods. Write down your top 3 and make a list of what you like and what you don't like about them. Once you get through that, that's going to help you just narrow it down so much better. And this is so important because if you're not doing the right method, you're not going to see results. You're just going to be doing it because a guru told you. So when you find that ideal method, the only thing that you're going to focus on is that good feeling. And this is kind of where the ball can get dropped, right? If you're doing scripting, right, and you're just writing, I am so happy and grateful I made $10,000. It's just like a task. It's like sweeping your floor. You're not really, there's nothing behind it. The most important thing is to have that high vibration while doing whatever method that you choose. And to get that feeling, the best way that I describe it, especially to beginners, is to think of a time where you were just over the moon excited, like nothing could bring you down. It was just like the highlight of your life. Or it could just be like the time you got a puppy and you were just super excited, or the time you fell in love, whatever it is. Think of that moment and just pull that feeling into whatever you're doing. And that's going to give you like that initial, let me play with this and see if it works kind of thing.
Yeah. It's easy to like, especially after you've had all this motivation to start this new practice, like first week, first couple of days, you're in it, right? Like you're giving it your all. But then, as you mentioned, it can become a task, just another thing you're checking off your to-do list, especially if you have a really busy schedule. And I've certainly fallen into that where with scripting, I told myself I'm just going to write out these manifestations every day. And it did become a chore. And I felt that it was not actually being effective the way I was doing it. So I had someone say, well, like, what's your pump up song, or what's like some good music that sets that feeling, sets that mode of energy and success. And so I like created a little playlist. And when I went through my morning routine, I would kind of read out this manifesto that I'd written, like me in a year, in 5 years, as if it was the present, what I'm going to achieve. And I'd have that music going. And then I'd go into scripting and writing things out. And the energy, like for me, I feel it in my chest more than anything. It's just this positive, energetic, happy feeling that as soon as that music goes on, it triggers it for me. And doing that, making that shift, change in my practice, led to it being a lot more effective in my case. All right, Bianca. So you've mentioned that your mission is to help people create a life that they're absolutely in love with, which I love the way you put that. What are some of the key pieces of advice that you've given to your clients that are just starting on this journey to help create that life that they're absolutely in love with?
Yeah, I feel like the most important thing there is to not lose your vision, because with manifestation, something that's so important is divine timing. And the reason why this is important is because people put out the conception that if you manifest, it should happen right away. And that is not true. The universe or, God, whoever your higher power is, will give it to you when the timing is right. And the reason that some people manifest right away is because the timing has been right for them months ago. They just weren't aligned energetically with what they were trying to achieve. And for other people, it can be receiving their manifestation, 10 months down the line after they started doing the work, and it's because of divine timing. So I just tell people that although you feel like, your dream life isn't happening right away, or, you think you're doing something wrong, there can be a lot of underlying reasons for this, but as long as you don't lose that passion and lose sight of your vision and what you want, it will definitely come. It is inevitable.
Absolutely. So a little bit of a shift here. I always like to get into how my guests balance life and business. Like you're having a lot of success. I'm sure you have a million things on your calendar all the time. And yeah, this podcast is about entrepreneurship, but one of the biggest hurdles that we all face at one time or another is living that well-rounded life, doing the things that bring us joy with the people that we care about most, which as we get more successful and busier, that becomes harder and harder unless we're intentional about it. So what does living a well-rounded life look like for you?
For me, it's really taking those 10 minutes out of the day to sit with myself, to center myself and just remind myself, like, yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm a person. I'm a successful individual. I have to put myself first, whether it's my health, my wellness, mental health, which is super important. And then also, of course, it comes down to time management. Like you said, having a really full packed calendar, but then still wanting to spend time with your family can be such a challenge. But when you take that step back and you're just like, all right, let me just turn everything off for like 10 minutes, just close my eyes and just, get calm and be able to clear my brain for a second, it really helps you manage your day moving forward and figure out how you can prioritize the most important things while still getting your work done.
I love that. Do you have any like rules or practices, whether it's daily, weekly, or just like throughout the year, that allow you to carve out that time? Whether it's like, hey, for me, I love to travel. So I always make sure that I'm thinking months ahead. And if we want to go make a trip, I'm blocking out that time well in advance and making sure I'm shifting things around so that I can be fully present when we do go on that trip and not checking email and doing a bunch of things. Do you have any rules in your business or in your life that allow you to create more adventure or create that time to just be unplugged and spend time with the people that you care about most?
So I would say, I'm in Orlando, Florida, and I'm a huge
Yeah.
Disney fanatic. I will drag my
Nice.
family there at least every other month, like a crazy person. I don't care how hot it is, the crowds, I know all the
Amazing.
secrets. So I make it a mission to make that happen. And you just have to know like when to say no, right? Especially as an entrepreneur, you think your client should always come first. Your work absolutely has to be done at this time. But you just have to say no, and you have to prioritize what's important to you. Like if that's your go-to, like that's what makes you feel good, you feel like you're doing things for yourself and your family, you have to make the time to make that happen. So what I do is I pencil those trips in like throughout my whole calendar. Like these are ready, like by the end of 2024 I'm going to have all of my Disney trips ready for 2025. And it's just like I'm going
Amazing.
to prioritize. I'm going to make sure all my work is done, I'm not taking any calls on that time, and I really prepare for this. It sounds a little crazy and a little manic, but it really helps with my schedule. I feel like I'm able to get what I want to do done.
I love it. Disney for me is like one of my fondest childhood memories. My grandparents lived in Fort Myers, and we spent a lot of time down there in the summers just visiting, spending time on the beach. But we'd always make a trip to Disney World, and it was just like the most magical place. So I'm stoked that you still get to go and do that and take friends and family.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to be able to create those memories for them because those are the memories I have as a kid as well.
Awesome. Well, besides Disney, I always like to ask about travel. Like, yeah, entrepreneurship's an adventure. That's kind of the theme of this podcast, but we all have some desire to experience new things, whether that's traveling internationally or in our own city, our own backyard. For you, it sounds like Disney's a big place that you love to go time and time again. But is there a favorite place that you visited besides Disney in the last 5 years or so, or it could be any time, or just like a recent adventure that you went on? And in either case, what was it like? What made it so memorable? Maybe a favorite meal or drink you had, a lesson you learned. Give us a story.
Yeah, so I recently went to Colombia and I spent about a week there. And I just absolutely fell in love with the city, the culture. For reference, I'm Puerto Rican. I grew up in Puerto Rico. I have a full Latin background. So I just kind of wanted to go somewhere different just because I spent a lot of my time in Puerto Rico, but I love South America. So going to Colombia and just seeing the multiple different facets of how they live, the different weather, the food, everything. I just fell in love with it. I'm actually going to buy a property there at the end of the year just because it was that great. But I feel like the
Amazing.
one thing that sold me was the enjoyness of life and the calmness. And maybe it's like an American thing, but here we're always like hustle, grind, like let's get it done, let's move super fast. And there they're just like, just sit back and enjoy your time, like enjoy your food. Nobody's on their phone. Everybody is just so in the moment. And I think that was just one of the biggest takeaways I got from them.
Oh, I love that. You're actually like the third person recently that has said essentially the same thing about Colombia, and just that kind of like go with the flow, intentionality mindset that people have down there. And we just got back from Mexico last week. We were there for 3 weeks, and as we were wrapping up the trip, we were like this close to booking a one-way ticket to Medellin and spending like another week there. We had some like commitments that ultimately were like, oh yeah, we shouldn't bail on those. So we came back, but Colombia is high on our list and really excited to go visit there for the first time. All right, Bianca, if there's one thing that you want our listeners to take away from this conversation, what would it be?
I would say that the biggest thing is to keep in mind that no matter how hard your journey is or what you're going through, you can absolutely create what you want. And it just all comes down to mindset and taking actionable steps that you have faith in is going to be successful.
I love it. So I know people are going to want to reach out. Where is the best place for people to connect with you online, website, socials, things like that?
Yeah, the best place is going to be to reach out to me through my website and just set up a call for us to chat. And that's at biancalysette.com.
Awesome. We're going to drop the links to that and more in the show notes for everyone listening. And Bianca, truly grateful for having you join me today. Thanks for dropping all this manifestation wisdom. Hopefully people took notes, because if you can think it, if you can say it, you can bring it into reality. And if you need help with that, definitely talk to Bianca.
Absolutely. Thanks so much again.
Awesome.
To all of our Adventurous listeners, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, download, and share this on social media or with someone you know will get some value from it. Leaving a review goes a long way in helping people find the show, and I personally appreciate reading them when they come in. So please go drop one if you have the time. We'll see you all next week, and remember, whether we're talking about business or the things that bring us joy outside of work, life is meant for exploring. So go out there and live it one adventure at a time.